There is only one perfect solution, but there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there everyone, my name is Crazy Caleb, and today we're going to be taking a look at small circle. So this is the way the module looks. It looks similar to a older module called big circle, except in this case, obviously, it's smaller. So this is the way that the module looks, and it's going to be spinning both either clockwise or counterclockwise. And what we must do is we must press one of the wedges to get through for the first stage. We must figure out which one of the wedges makes a different sound press um, uh, compared to the others. So let's actually turn down the music in this case, so that we can hear the sound effects in this case. So let's take a look. And the key here is that one of the wedges, yes, as I said before, will make a different sound than the others when it's pressed, and we need to figure that out in this case. We must note the color of this wedge, then hold any wedge for over a second, and this will cause the colors to fade out, then fade back into a new permutation. So the way that I recommend doing this is making sure that you do the presses in between the timer ticks. That's the trickiest bit of this module, and what we're going to do is we're going to figure this out. So let's listen. The white made a different sound there, and just to make sure, so the white in this case is the color that we're going to note down. So now what exactly are we going to do with this color? So we're going to note down the color and then hold any wedge for over a second, and this will cause the colors to fade out and fade back into a new permutation. So once I hold down any wedge here, the colors are essentially going to stay in the same order as they are, in this case being white, yellow, yellow, magenta, blue, green, red, orange, black. However, what we want to make sure is we want to make sure that we're keeping track of the wedge that has the white, and we're going to keep track of how far the white wedge goes in a specific direction, being clockwise or counterclockwise, based off of the way that the circle is spinning. So what exactly do I mean by this? So the way that we can do this is the permutation will be the same as the previous one, but shifted 1 to 8 places in the opposite direction the circle is spinning. So in this case, the circle is spinning counterclockwise. So what's going to happen is when we hold down the circle, it's going to shift between 1 to 8 times in the clockwise direction, and that's what we're going to note down. And then we're going to take a look at this table here and figure out some rules. So let's do that. So we're going to keep track of this wedge specifically, but figure out how many times white goes in a specific direction. In this case, let's hold it for over a second. So in this case, white would be right here normally, but in this case, it went 2 spaces clockwise in this case, as you can see here. So in this case, that's going to be 2 spaces. So we're going to take a look at this table, and we're going to highlight the column for the color that made a different sound, and however many spaces it shifted in this case for the direction. So in this case, it shifted 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to obtain three instructions that must be pressed in the specific order of which the rules applies. So in this case, we're going to take a look at echo, delta, and hotel rules. So echo, in this case, is if blue has already been pressed, orange, otherwise black. And what this orange means is that you're simply going to press orange, or otherwise black in this case. So if blue has already been pressed, we have not pressed blue quite yet. So we're going to press orange for our first stage. Or we're going to press black, for our first stage. If blue has already been pressed, in this case, we're not going to be pressing orange. We're going to be pressing black in this case. So black for our first press. Next up, rule delta. If the shorter number of wedges between green and the color used in the table is less than the number of batteries, white, otherwise yellow. So what exactly does this mean? So if the number of wedges between green and white, in this case, is less than the number of batteries, which in this case, both of them happen to be directly opposite from each other. So in this case, the distance between them is 4. Because it doesn't matter whichever way you go to it, there's at least 3 in between. So in this case, how many batteries do we have on the bottom? We only have 2. So in this case, that is not true. So we're going to press yellow in this case, because the shorter number of wedges being between green and the number and white is 3. However, 3 is not less than the number of batteries, which is 2. So we're going to simply press yellow. And lastly, we're going to take a look at hotel. Hotel, if the longer number of wedges between black and the color used on the table is greater than the last digit of the serial number, so in this case, between black and white, the greater number of wedges between them is going to be all of these other colors in between here. So in this case, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6. So if the longer number of wedges in this case being 6, is greater than the last digit of the serial number, 6 in this case is indeed greater than 1, so we're going to be pressing red. And these are the 3 button presses we need to obtain in order to solve this module. So we're going to press black, yellow, red, and just like that, the colors fade away and the module solves. Let's take a look at another example. These rules are pretty straightforward. It's just understanding how the getting the shifted clockwise, the shifted rule works. So in this case, let's take a look at this next one. In this case, let's figure out the different color, the different sound. Okay, so it's white again because these two make the same color, make the same sound, and I accidentally held it. White in this case, it was spinning counterclockwise, so it's going to be we need to shift it by the amount of spaces it went clockwise. So in this case, it's going to be 1, 2, and 3. I'm so glad I caught that because that could have been bad. But yeah, that's exactly what I mean by you have to be careful with what you press because accidental stuff like that could happen. But thankfully, I was able to obtain the color and the distances that it was spinning around. So in this case, let's take a look at this next set of rules. So echo, alpha, foxtrot. So echo in this case, if blue has already been pressed, we have not pressed that, so black for our first color. Alpha's rule, if red is adjacent to yellow or white, red is indeed adjacent to yellow, so we're going to be pressing green. And then lastly, foxtrot in this case, if magenta has not been pressed yet, which in this case this is true, we're going to be pressing blue. And these will be the 3 colors that we press. We're going to press black, green, and blue. All right. Now this one is spinning clockwise, so we're going to be taking a look at the ones that are shifting counterclockwise, however many times it shifts counterclockwise. Let's listen for the sound here. In this case, yellow is our color that we're going to be paying attention to. Let's hold it over for just a second. Paying attention to where this color goes. And in this case, it is spinning, we need to spin counterclockwise to get the amount of spaces it's shifted. In this case being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 in this case is our shifted. If it happens to be the exact same position, for example, say if the yellow did not shift from the wedge that we started on, that would simply just be 8. That's just the way that works. Let's take a look at these rules here. So next up we have Bravo. If orange is opposite to magenta or black. In this case, it is not. Magenta and black happen to be opposite to each other, so in this case, that is not true. So we're going to be pressing not blue, but red in this case. And lastly, and next up, we're going to be pressing, looking at Foxtrot. Magenta has not been pressed yet. In this case, that will be blue, because that is true. And Charlie, if yellow is adjacent to no secondary colors, which in this case is orange, green, and magenta, we're going to be pressing black, otherwise orange. So yellow in this case is adjacent to no secondary colors. It is adjacent to orange and magenta. So unfortunately, those are both secondary colors. So we're going to be pressing orange in this case. So we're going to be pressing red, blue, and orange. And just like that is a solved module. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay crazy, stay cool, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.